We stayed at Rifle Falls State Park. I'm Bill.
And I'm Christina, and we're going to give you the inside information. This river. Ooh, fun. Oh, this is really pretty.
Rifle Falls State Park is located about a half an hour north of I-70 in western Colorado, kind of near the city of Grand Junction. And that's kind of the reason why we picked it. It was off of I-70 by not too far. It was near a major city, so we could get things that we needed. But yet it seemed far enough off the beaten path that we would have privacy in the woods. Did you like the location?
I did. I love the location. I love, like you said, just being off the highway, not too far away, but enough that you're not hearing the highway, you're in a rural area. I like that.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
As far as costs go for this, it was a little expensive for what you get, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to say it cost us around $35 for the night with electricity, but that's not including Colorado's, I think, expensive entrance fees.
Yeah.
So take the cost of the campground and add another $10 per day that you must pay. Not quite as expensive as Texas, but it's up there for state parks. I wish they would just fold it into the price like most state parks do or do away with it.
So you might not know that you have that extra cost until you get there.
Right. And with Colorado, it's weird because they might tell you, I can't remember exactly if they tell you while you're booking it that there's an extra fee for the entrance, but you cannot pay for it when you're booking your site.
I think it depends on the state park.
In Colorado, I think they're
Yeah.
all the same. I think none
Yeah.
of them have the ability to pay for the $10 fee.
Well, they're changing a lot in Colorado, so maybe that's where the confusion is.
Maybe. On the plus side, Colorado does have an annual pass program for its state parks and is available to non-residents as well. So for $80 a year, if you're going to visit a lot of state parks in Colorado, it's worth getting.
Which we do.
Yeah, so if you're going to stay for 8 nights, it'll pay for itself. And we tend to stay more than that. Since we are based in Wyoming, we pass through Colorado quite a bit.
Well, in Rifle Falls State Park, there's not a lot of amenities, but it's Colorado, beautiful waterfall.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what's worth it to you.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. Rifle Falls State Park is a pretty small park
Very.
as far as they go.
Yeah.
I think there were, how many sites were there? A dozen? Maybe
About that.
12 or 15 sites?
I would say mostly locals stay there.
Right.
And maybe people are attracted because of the waterfalls. And in Colorado in particular, waterfalls are kind of popular because there's not a lot compared to some other states.
Yeah, we were there on a weekend, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and on Saturday morning, we had stayed over Friday night to Saturday morning, and on Saturday morning there were a fair number of people that came just for the day use to hike the waterfall and see it.
I
Uh,
would say that around 10 a.m. is about when there was a steady stream of cars with local residents coming through just to hike around and look at the waterfalls.
Yeah, I don't know if they were locals or not, but there was a good number of people. I was surprised for the size of the parking lot. Sometimes that gives you an indication of how many visitors they expect. But there were a decent number of cars in this parking lot.
Definitely a lot of day use people come to this park, and maybe that's why there's not as many campsites at this state park.
Right. It seems like the campsites are well used as well. I think all of them were full when we were there.
Yes.
I don't know about the tent only campsites, but as far as the regular campsites go, they were all full.
Did you want to talk about the main road going right past all of the sites?
Yeah, I didn't think that was a problem when we first pulled in.
And it wasn't really. We were on one of the end sites or one of the first sites that's right next to the road. So there is a good steady stream, like I said, but our picnic table was on the other side. Not that
Right.
it really bothered us too much because we were going to the waterfall too.
Yeah. But that brings up the point that most of the people staying here had smaller rigs.
Yeah.
So a lot of small travel trailers, vans like ours, and things like that. There weren't any, I don't think, fifth wheels or large Class A's, and that gets to the point of the main road coming in. So the road coming in, as well as the sites, are pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't see a big Class A or fifth wheel being able to make the turns into the campsites or get out of the campsites, even though some of them were pull throughs. And when we were there, it looks like you can drive straight through the campground to get to the falls. And there's a little roundabout in the parking lot for the falls.
Oh, but that was tight.
But it would be, we don't have a big rig. We have a 19-foot van, so we can fit anywhere. Boy, it looked tight for a big Class A or a fifth wheel trying to
Mm-hmm.
get around that. And then that's the only road in and out of the park. So,
But if you want to visit the waterfall, you can stay at a campground, a state park just down the road. I think it was only 10 minutes
right. It's
for
called
big breaks.
Rifle
Gap.
Gap State
Rifle
Park.
Gap State Park.
And we stopped in there and it did have a lot of big fifth wheels, big Class A staying there. And it was pretty as well.
Really nice driveways, if that's what you call
Yeah.
them. Cement pads. No trees,
And
really.
full hookups.
But still pretty because there's a reservoir, but a very different kind of pretty.
Camping at this place was pretty good.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was definitely quiet.
Yes.
There was no cell service,
Mm-mm.
and there is a sign when you come into the park because you have to pay that $10 entrance fee
Yeah.
that you need to either pay cash or pay by check. But you can make reservations day of, and that's where the cell service comes in. So if you want to book a site at this place and you want to do it online, which is the only way, you would have to drive to Rifle Gap State Park down the road, make your reservation online, and then come back.
Which, depending on which way you came in, you could be passing by it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's true. And Starlink, we carry Starlink with us, and that worked perfectly. So that was our ace in the hole.
Mhm.
We don't really worry about cell providers anymore now
No.
that we have Starlink.
Yay!
So
Yay, Starlink. Third generation?
yeah, the
Yay.
campground had tent only sites as well. When Colorado says tent only, they mean tent only, and you had to park in the parking lot and carry your stuff down this little trail to the tent only sites. So you can't be in a camper van or something like that, book a tent only site and expect to stay in it.
Another reason why we like doing these reviews because there's so many different variables at different state parks and in different states.
As far as amenities go at this campground, there was electricity for us and water was available, but not at the site.
Were there
And
two?
I
Two water?
think there might have been two spigots.
Okay.
And then there were a couple of pit toilets scattered around, one at the hiking section and one down near the tent only parking lot,
No
which is
running
where
water.
that's where the water was as well.
Right, but no running water sinks or anything.
Right, you won't find showers here. You won't find flush toilets. You won't find a dish cleaning station,
Right.
things like that. Things we talked about. Rifle Gap down the road does have showers, does have flush toilets, does have full hookups. If that's the kind of experience you're looking for, you can find that down the road.
One of the things we also like to look for is the camping pad. So, what was the camping pad like there?
I think it was dirt,
No,
a dirt gravel.
it was the little gravel, but it
Oh,
was
okay.
big enough that it didn't stick in my flip flops. I have big treads in my flip flops. And so I was not tracking in, we were not tracking any dirt or rocks. And it was very flat.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good.
hmm The road coming in was paved.
Yeah. It was nice in terms of that.
Yeah.
Just lacking on amenities, and that's, I mean, what you get in a lot of these smaller, out of the way state parks,
So
and
you
that's
go to
fine.
this campground in particular to be close to the waterfall and the hiking. The falls were spectacular. I did not expect to see so much water flowing I think there was probably 7 different little falls coming out of
Yep.
about the same area. That was shocking because it was in the fall,
Yeah, we
and
were there
you
in October.
yeah, you picture waterfalls, especially in Colorado, drying up in the fall, and these were really amazing. And rainbows in different sections. Very cool.
Yeah, I was surprised by it. I was surprised by the falls. We were there in October. I was expecting a trickle, as most of the I guess spring melt
Yeah.
is gone from Colorado at that point. We've been to a lot of parks where they say they have a waterfall, and there's just a tiny little trickle at this time of year. But this one was going full force. I don't know where
There might
the
be
water comes
springs
from,
nearby. I
or it
don't
could be
know.
a dam for a
Mm-hmm.
reservoir. I know they have some fish hatcheries
Up
up
above.
above,
Yeah.
so it might be part of that. I don't know, but they had a lot of flow, and it was pretty awesome.
Very pretty. And some interpretive signs also
Yep.
along the path. So the other big surprise was hiking. Couple of things. There's some hiking trails. So the first surprise was they're very short hiking trails. It's basically, even though they say there's 3 different trails,
Yeah.
it's basically a loop that goes all the way around.
Yeah, so you start at the base of the falls.
Right.
So if you're coming from the parking lot, if you just want to visit the falls, which is a great thing to do, you could spend a couple of hours here just looking at the falls. So if you park at the parking lot and then you want to walk into the falls, they're what, 50 yards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You probably have a 50-yard walk from your car to the base of the falls on a mostly paved trail. So if you have mobility issues and things like that,
You can
it's
get to it.
perfectly flat.
Mm-hmm.
You can get to the bottom of the falls, no problem. Once you're there, then you have options. Do you want to climb up behind the falls? Do you want to climb up on top of the falls? That would be difficult with mobility issues.
There are a lot of stairs, a lot of uneven upward hills and roots, a couple of roots to go around and rocks.
Yeah, it's not all that high up.
Mm-mm.
It might be 50 yards high, but yeah, there are a lot of steps, and it's doesn't seem like it's all that well paved or taken care of. But I mean that in the way that it's not a paved, nice set of stairs for you to take.
They're
Um,
uneven. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't mean it not taken care of in that there's not trash on the trail, there's not downed limbs and that kind of stuff. That's all taken care of. But as far as like having nice,
Not
even
standard
steps,
steps. Yeah.
right, you're not going to find that.
So we figured out it's about 3 miles around a loop. If you did all 3 of the sections, it's about 3 miles around.
Yep.
The
And the most surprising thing, aside from the flow in the falls, was
There's caves, really cool caves. So if you start on the hike and go to the right, well, there's caves on both sides, but the
right.
biggest, coolest cave is to the right of the waterfall. And that's not very far in. You go up some stairs, you go up some hills, you go by another section of river, and then you come to this rock, which is really cool. It's all pitted, so it's limestone, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
that has been pitted over time. And there's a really big cave that you can walk in. I completely expected to see bats,
Yeah.
but one really big cave with some really cool stalagmites starting to form.
Stalactites.
I can't remember which ones come from the bottom, which comes from the top, but anyway, some really cool rock formations in there. And then you walk around that part too. There's a couple of little caves, and then eventually you get to the top.
Right. And you can get to all the caves without climbing up too many stairs. So you don't have to go up and behind the falls. There, it's like at
Mhm.
the base level of the falls.
And it's not all stairs either. It's some of it's just path that you're going uphill.
Right. And it almost looks like there were holes that go down like behind the face of, it's hard to explain this, but if you can picture like a hole where the water would seep through over time
Mm-hmm.
to dig this cave out, but it looks like it's not really rock that the cave is made out of. It almost looks like it's frozen mud. So
Yeah,
it
it was
looks
like
like
melted dirt,
yeah, so when you
melted
say
rock.
stalagmites, it almost looks like it's not growing up, it's being melted down.
Yeah, dripping down or gushing slowly
Yeah.
out. Is very cool. Very
Yeah,
pretty.
so it definitely has a unique look to it, and it almost looks like the cave is melting
I was just fascinated
over
the whole
time.
time. Yeah. And then you get to the top and there's this big meadow. That was a surprise too. I kept picturing that we're going to be in the mountain
Yep,
and it was this big valley or field with a pond, a fishery on top where two boys were fishing.
yep. And the last surprise
What was the last
that
surprise?
we had, that I had when we got to the top, from the base of the falls, you see three nice big gushing
Oh,
waterfalls
yeah, I know what he's going to
and
say.
some other smaller ones coming over. And as we hiked up above, we realized that one of the three big gushing waterfalls was actually coming out of a pipe. It it
Fake
was
waterfall.
it was probably 2 feet in diameter, the
He said
pipe.
it was fake, but it wasn't really fake. I think they were just trying to stop erosion, trying to
Probably.
keep it, directing it. It wasn't really fake, but
Or the pipe
you
was
look
coming
at
out
it
of
like, "Aw, wah wah."
I didn't see any pumps though, so that's
No,
good.
no pumps.
I think they were just redirecting the flow or
I think
something, or
so.
maybe that's the runoff from the fish hatchery or
Right.
something. We didn't ask anyone, and it was just kind of funny when
Yeah.
we were up there.
Some other cool things too is there were some platforms that had been built that you can walk all the way out and really feel like you're just hanging on a cliff above the waterfall.
Yeah,
That was
you
pretty
really get a
neat.
good view.
Yes,
Yep.
there were a couple of those.
Yeah.
And eventually you come back down around the other side and there's more of that rock and more river
Hmm.
and very unique. So many different places to take very unique, fun photographs of this waterfall.
Aside from that, there's not much to do at this park.
Fishing. There was
There's
fishing.
fishing, and I guess I don't know if
Camping.
there's 3 miles of hikes or not. The camping. If you're going to come to this campground to camp here at the state park for an extended period of time, probably more than a couple nights, you probably want to make sure you bring your own activities to do. Also, make sure you have all your supplies. The nearest city is probably Grand Junction-ish, and it's probably 30 to 45 minutes away. So you definitely don't want to be running in and out of the state park to the city and then come back. It's just too far of a drive, I
Now,
think.
can we talk about the state park pass? Because you can go to Rifle Gap State Park down the road with your pass.
Yeah, that's only, what was it, 15, 20 minutes away, and
Right.
you use your state park pass. Either if you have the annual pass or your day pass will work there as well. And you could hang out there. They have a big reservoir. You could
Mm.
boat on the reservoir, I
They might
guess.
have a camp store. I can't
Right.
remember,
They might.
but an important thing to note though, because I did find this out after research, that you cannot use your pass from Rifle Falls to then use their dump station.
Right. It'll get you into the park for the
Right.
day, but you can't use the showers or the dump station,
Right.
I
Good point with the
believe.
showers too. Yeah.
Although there's probably nobody policing that.
Sometimes it depends on who is manning the entrance. They let you. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't. So,
But it is near Grand Junction. Grand Junction has a lot of cool things to do, including Colorado National Monument and Grand Mesa. Those are both cool places to visit. You could spend all day there and then drive back. Grand Junction is going to have a hospital, a Home Depot, a Walmart, all of those kind of things. So you could get all the supplies you need. And we used it for resupplying before we headed off to Zion and in Utah.
so lots of hiking nearby. Colorado is gorgeous. This area in Colorado is gorgeous.
Yep.
So really lots to do nearby if you want to use that as a your hub.
Jumping off point. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the Dinosaur Trail,
Mm-hmm.
Dinosaur Diamond. I forget what they call it, but there's a route that takes you to Dinosaur National
Right.
Monument and some other dinosaur sites around the area. That's close by as well.
And really pretty drives too, for that matter. We saw which side? Was it when we came in
If you're coming
originally?
from the east and get off one exit early on I-70,
Mm.
we
I've
saw
never
cows.
seen so many sheep in one place at once. It was just beautiful. Also, some inside information, Colorado, especially here, is pretty high elevation for most people. So
Yep.
it's drier air. It will be colder at night, 10 to 20 degrees colder, whether it's summer or winter or fall. And you're going to want to drink a lot of water. There's not usually as many bugs, which is nice.
Yep. And it's
Anything else?
probably open year round.
Yeah.
So you can camp here in the winter, I believe. I'll put on screen if you can't.
Oh, and one more thing. There's often a fire ban in Colorado. So if it's cold and there's a fire ban, you will not be able to have a campfire quite often.
All right, so what's the verdict on Rifle Falls State Park?
Well, the falls is a 5 vans. Bing, 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 bing.
Was it supposed to have a waterfall?
I think so. So it is diverted, I think, in 1 or 2 places, probably so that it doesn't get worn away.
Okay, so 5 vans.
Yeah.